Well, hi. It is week 4, and the topic this week is consumer behavior. And this is actually a topic that you know a lot about because you're a consumer. So I hope you find it interesting. One of the things we're going to do is we're just going to organize it and structure it a little bit differently so you understand it from a marketing perspective. So this week, there's 3 major topics in your chapter. The first is buyer characteristics. Okay, so buyer characteristics, think of it as every buyer has a black box. And what that means is there's influences that you have when you go to buy a product. Okay, so a lot of you, I bet, buy products that mom and dad bought. And that is something that we call a social influence. Okay, and by the way, family, by the way, is the number one influencer on people's purchases. So if mom and dad like Samsung, you probably like Samsung too. But cultural, social, personal, psychological, Maslow comes into the psychological, and that goes to like one of the key tenets of consumer behavior is why do people buy the things they do? The what part is really easy. That's like demographics, age, sex, education, occupation. But why you buy the things that you do, when do you buy them, for what purpose do you buy them? Those are questions that marketers would really like answers to. Those are a little bit difficult. The second thing in the book is the consumer decision process, also known as the buyer's journey. So when you get ready to buy a product, what are the steps that you take between the first part where you go, oh, I need something, to the part where you actually purchase it? Okay, and then are you happy with it or not happy with it? So there's some steps in between. So that is the consumer decision process. That's another big section of the book. And the last one, the third one, is something that we call adopter categories. Okay, so when new products are introduced, how does the population adopt them? Who adopts them first? Who adopts them last? So it follows a normal curve. And when a new product is introduced, the first people that have to have it on the block are called innovators. So these are the people that will wait in line. They'll spend nights overnight in the parking lot to get something. Those are innovators. And then the next group is early adopters. They're after the innovators. They're not going to stand in line, but they also want it fairly quickly. And those are really small groups of people. I mean, only 2% of the population, I think, are innovators, and maybe another 10 are early adopters. That's a really small percent of the population. The biggest in the normal curve is split into 2. One is early majority, and the other one's late majority. An early majority will never beta test anything. So they'll wait for the innovators and the early adopters to do it, and then they'll go ahead and go, okay, it's working now, so I'll buy it. And then late majority, they're usually a few models out. So like for the iPhone, we're on the iPhone XS, I think. The late majority is probably buying an Apple, they're probably buying an iPhone 8 right now. They're probably 4 models behind. And then laggards, the last group, which is also a really tiny group, they still have flip phones. So laggards who don't like new products at all. And I'm sure that you can actually picture people either in your family or friends or whatever that fit these categories, okay? So those are the 3 things: buyer characteristics, consumer decision process or buyer's journey, and then the adopter categories. That's the meat of the chapter. So you'll have readings, you'll have a quiz on that. You'll have a buyer simulation on buyer behavior. You have a discussion question this week. There are a ton of resources that I put in this week's folder. One thing that I want to point out, the VAL survey, which stands for Values, Attitudes, and Lifestyle. So it helps a lot with figuring out, what's your lifestyle and what do we think you're going to buy and different things like that. You can take that survey, and if you send that to me in an email, I will give you some extra points. So if you missed some points so far, you can make up a few of them that way. There's also Prism in there. And the reason I point out the resources here is because you will be using those tools in about 3 weeks when you do your market segmentation and target marketing. So you will use VALs, you'll use Prism, you'll use everything that you learn this week to do your segmentation. So this is a really nice, meaty Blackboard folder, but honestly, I think the week is pretty easy because you know this material because you are all consumers. And so I think hopefully you'll have some fun with it. And so I will wish you blessings on your week. Have a great one.